Today is VJ Day, or Victory over Japan Day. 80 years ago today, on September 2nd, 1945, the Second World War came to an end with a signing ceremony on the deck of the U.S. battleship, the USS Missouri, in Tokyo Harbor. I want to go over very briefly a few days leading up, a few events leading up to that day. And then I also, too, want to read to you General MacArthur's speech, which is really an important speech because it encapsulates the principles upon which a good world order, a right world order, should be based. And these principles have been part of the world order ever since 1945. And I submit to you, these principles have also been part of America ever since our founding and almost 250 years ago. So on August 15th of 1945, Emperor Hirohito agreed to surrender. The next day, he sent out ceasefire orders throughout the empire. About 4 days later, August 19th, he sent out the negotiators to negotiate the terms of the surrender. Now, all this information I'm getting is coming from the Naval History and Heritage Command, and it's online. In the course of those days from the 19th of August until the 2nd of September, a number of things happened. They initially thought that they could set the signing ceremony for August 31st, but there was a typhoon, there were some other concerns. Americans wanted to secure the harbor. We also wanted to get food and help to our POWs. And so there were some troop movements in order to facilitate that. So on September 2nd, the signing ceremony, there were 207 Allied warships in Tokyo Bay. The USS Missouri was anchored on the exact same spot where Commodore Matthew Perry had dropped anchor in 1853. There was an umbrella of B-29s and carrier aircraft that were circling above. And about 8:40, General MacArthur arrived in the morning on the deck of the battleship. At 8:56, the Japanese delegation arrived, and about 9:07, the ceremony began. General MacArthur gave a very short talk that I want to read to you. Like I said, it contains principles of right world order, and it's very profound because it is one that talks about these principles of right world order as keeping the peace. It also shows the essence of America. What he talks about, the principles he enunciates in this talk, are in fact the principles that are very important in America, informing us and making us who we are and how we conduct domestic and foreign affairs. So here's General MacArthur's speech. We are gathered here, representatives of the major warring powers, to conclude a solemn agreement whereby peace may be restored. The issues involving divergent ideals and ideologies have been determined on the battlefields of the world and hence are not for our discussion or debate. Nor is it for us here to meet, representing as we do a majority of the peoples of the earth in a spirit of distrust, malice, or hatred, but rather it is for us, both victors and vanquished, to rise to that higher dignity which alone befits the sacred purposes we are about to serve, committing all of our peoples unreservedly to faithful compliance with the undertakings they are here formally to assume. It is my earnest hope, and indeed the hope of all mankind, that from this solemn occasion a better world shall emerge out of the blood and carnage of the last, a world founded upon faith and understanding, a world dedicated to the dignity of man and the fulfillment of his most cherished wish for freedom, tolerance, and justice, a world dedicated to the dignity of man and the fulfillment of his most cherished wish for freedom, tolerance, and justice. These are essential principles to a peaceful and right ordered world order and domestic order. The terms and conditions upon which surrender of the Japanese imperial forces is here to be given and accepted are contained in the instrument of surrender now before you. As Supreme Commander for the Allied Powers, I announce it my firm purpose, in the tradition of the countries I represent, to proceed in the discharge of my responsibilities with justice and tolerance, while taking all necessary dispositions to ensure the terms of surrender are fully, promptly, and faithfully complied with. I now invite the representatives of the Emperor of Japan and the Japanese government and the Japanese Imperial General Headquarters to sign the instrument of surrender at the places indicated. The Supreme Command for the Allied Powers will now sign on behalf of all the nations at war with Japan. Then he called up the representative from the United States, the representative from the Republic of China, from the United Kingdom, the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, Australia, Canada, France, Netherlands, and New Zealand. At the end, he said, "Let us pray that peace be now restored to the world and that God will preserve it always. These proceedings are closed." And that's courtesy of Papers of Richmond Kelly Turner, Box 33, Archives Branch, Naval History and Heritage Command. So what we see here are key principles in American social organization and the way America looks at the world, and key principles that are needed to rightly order the world. And America has brought right order into the world. And we have done this with these four key principles I've spoken about before. Number one being the centrality of the person. Number two being the existence of a community of nations, which means if you're a community, you got to have rules, you got to respect each other, you got to live together. Number three, the primacy of the rule of law to make sure that community functions rightly. And then number four, it's peace. The objective has got to be peace, and the purpose of life is peace. And what we're supposed to do is the state of man is to achieve peace. That's not the way with tyrants. Tyrants look at that just the other way. Tyrants, dictators, autocrats, monarchs, they all look at it differently. They look at it basically as being for me, for my family, for my clan, for my group. And they don't care about any of those principles. And so as a result, you get disorder, you get conflict, poverty, and suffering. In World War II, there's a great deal of suffering. And I think it's easy to forget the amount of suffering there was. Tens of millions died. Tens of millions, not 100 millions, were hurt or wounded. Billions in damage was done. And this was all done by tyrants, by people who rejected these four fundamental principles for right ordering society, whether it be domestic or foreign. Thank you and happy VJ Day 2025.